to Hoops and Homes, We Will Win. Black and Hispanic Family Series. Our goal and our focus is to show Black and Hispanic families, Black and Hispanic families, we can get to 75% home ownership by 2035. In addition, show Black and Hispanic families that currently we spend over $3 trillion a year in this country. $3 trillion go through our hands. 3 trillion dineros go through our hands every year in this country. And our goal to show if we start investing that into our community, business owners that look like us, then we can grow that 3 trillion to 20 trillion by 2035, which is currently the GDP of the United States is $20 trillion. So that's what our focus is. And you have a picture of my hero, somebody that, so excited to talk about every time. Unfortunately, so many people of color never heard of Reginald Lewis, but Reginald Lewis was a multi-billion-dollar business enterprise creator back in the 80s. And he was a billionaire. He had formed several different businesses. He was a superstar down on Wall Street. He was an attorney, and he wrote this fantastic book that I believe everybody should read. Everybody should read this book. Why should white guys have all the fun? Why should white guys have all the fun? I put a spin to it for my 2021 version is why should white folks have all the fun? We in the Black and Hispanic community need to join them and have fun along with them on enjoying the American dream and achieving the goals and the dreams that all Americans have for them and their families. So that's my spin. And let Mr. Williams speak for himself. He's just incredible entrepreneur, credible business person, and a pioneer.
From modest beginnings in Baltimore, Maryland, to an international billion-dollar empire.
My grandfather said, know your job, and I can promise you'll never be in a bread line.
Since the beginning, Reginald F. Lewis was destined for success.
I signed him up for camp. And he said, who's going to take care of my business? And I said, I will. And the first thing he said when he walked through the door, where's my money?
A man with an unconventional approach to conventional institutions.
I was told that he is the only person to get into Harvard Law School without formally applying.
The thing I admired about Reginald Lewis, he was a take charge kind of a guy. The sheriff reached for me. Reggie grabs the sheriff's arm and said, wait a minute, who are you? I'm the high sheriff, who are you? And I'm Reginald F. Lewis, I represent Reverend Chambers. Yes, he was a Wall Street, highly trained corporate lawyer, but he was a strong freedom fighter for civil rights.
He was Jesse Jackson's first big funder, handing Jesse Jackson a $100,000 check, unsolicited.
Reg Lewis, in many ways, was the Jackie Robinson of business.
I have to admit, when I first met Reg, I wasn't told that he was Black. There weren't that many Black entrepreneurs in New York City at the time.
He bought 64 companies in 31 countries for almost $1 billion. So in that sense, he is a pioneer.
The fact that we were able to close a gargantuan deal, given its international character, was just, it was absolutely off the charts.
There is no doubt that Reginald Lewis's success paved the way for me and many others. And I think that really is the test and demonstration of real leadership.
Keep going. to build a better society in America, to be a compassionate America, that you keep going no matter what. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Pioneers, Reginald F. Lewis and the making of a billion-dollar empire.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. He was a pioneer for sure, and a hero of mine. My experience into civil rights came right at this point. This is the 1968 garbage strike. This is El Barrio, East Harlem in Manhattan. And this is my street. The second big building on your left-hand side, the projects, was my building. And I remember this day like it was yesterday, or I remember this time period like it was just yesterday. The city had a sanitation strike, but the city kept picking up garbage in Midtown Manhattan. They picked up garbage in other communities, but they didn't pick up garbage in our community. They didn't pick up garbage on our blocks. So we decided that if they weren't going to provide us with the service they're providing everybody else, then we're going to shut down Third Avenue. That's what we did. Third Avenue was a major thoroughfare. Anybody going from Midtown Manhattan, going to the Bronx, or going up to Westchester, or going to the Rockland County, mainly came up the FDR Drive, or that was too packed, which was packed all the time. It came up Third Avenue. And what we did was say, we can't get service from the city, then we're shutting down the neighborhood. We're shutting down the blocks. As a 12-year-old, we were dragging garbage cans out in the middle of the street, blocking the streets, wouldn't let cars pass by. And at that time, the riot police would come by, and they would, oh man, these were the biggest cops I ever seen in my life. Oh man, these guys are humongous. They were, as a 12-year-old, man, these guys looked like they were all 6'8" and 400 pounds, all muscle. They would grab a garbage can and toss it to the side of the street, with one hand. And after they marched up Third Avenue, because we started probably about 106th Street all the way up to 125th Street, we put the garbage cans back out there. We were adamant about our civil rights. And for me, this was the beginning of fighting for the civil rights. This was an awakening for me as a young man of what the world was like in the city and in this country, and it was a powerful time. It was also an awakening because it was, really the first experience I had. Well, it's first recollection of the white flight. I had neighbors that were Black, Hispanic, Italian, Irish. We all lived together. We all lived together well. Some of those guys, they moved out to Long Island, and today we're still friends. But the reality is that their parents were able to move to federally built homes out in Long Island. I believe on Little Neck, they built over 14,000 homes. The federal government did, but they had a regulation that no Blacks can buy or rent in that community. This was the federal government. This wasn't individual homeowners. This was the federal government that instituted these laws for years. And you just become awakened to the reality of what our federal government was all about, and about keeping us oppressed and keeping us down. And so this was a turning point in my life, and I've been fighting for civil rights ever since. 1968 was a long time, but it seems like just yesterday. We will win the Holloman Report. Black and Hispanics spend $3 trillion every year. I mentioned that before, but we also have over 6 million businesses in this country. Over 6 million businesses between Black Hispanic community. So that means no matter what service you need, no matter what service you need or require, there's somebody that looks like you that has that business that you can basically do business with. that you can basically do business with, just like every other community on this planet. Every other community on this planet does business within the communities that they live. You know, we don't have to do all our business with our communities, but we need to do the majority of our business with those communities so we can keep our community healthy and strong and financially secure, because that basically equals political power when you have financial strength. That equals civil rights when you have financial strength. If you have none of that, then you have no rights, and you forfeit your rights to somebody else because you always got your hand out, begging somebody else to help you with your day-to-day life. So we need to get better. I need to get better at supporting Black and Hispanic businesses, because that's who I am. That's where I come from.